Okay, picture this. The countdown hits 0.
That moment of truth.
You've been staring at that little progress bar for, I don't know, hours, maybe? Just refreshing, praying it doesn't crash.
Oh, yeah. It's a test of commitment, really.
Totally. And you finally get to the front of the virtual queue. Your heart's pounding. You click on the seats you want.
And then the screen flashes.
Yeah.
And it is not the price you're expecting.
Not even close. It's a number that doesn't just, buy a ticket. It just buys a whole new level of despair.
We saw it with the Lady Gaga tour.
Yeah.
I mean, fans were watching in real time as seats way, way up in the nosebleeds surged past $600.
$600.
And that was within 15 minutes of the sale opening. The advertised minimum price was just poof, gone, irrelevant.
And it's not just here. We saw that same shockwave with the rumored Oasis reunion in the UK.
14 million people. 14 million.
In a digital queue, only to find the prices were instantly doubled by some secret computer algorithm nobody understands. That moment, that crushing financial gut punch, that is the hitting truth behind the headline that really shook the industry. Ticketmaster shocked fans. Hidden truth behind sky-high prices.
And this isn't an accident. It's the result of these really deeply integrated market forces, corporate warfare, and a high-stakes legal game playing out across the globe.
Welcome to Starscope Report.
We're diving deep into this ticketing crisis. We're going to reveal the structural forces at play, the algorithms that are dictating the costs, and, the global efforts trying to force a change.
Today we're unpacking why tickets cost so much and what, if anything, governments in the US and the UK can actually do about it. Okay, so let's get into it. The pricing triple threat. It seems like there are these three big, complex mechanisms that are just squeezing the fan from every direction.
That's exactly right. And the first one, the big one, is dynamic pricing. This happens in the primary market, so right when tickets first go on sale.
So this is like what airlines and hotels do, right?
Precisely. It's an automated, real-time strategy. The price just changes constantly based on how many people are trying to buy at that exact moment.
And the industry's justification for this, their whole defense, is that they're trying to recapture something they call the consumer surplus.
Right.
Can you break that down for us? What exactly is that?
Yeah, in simple terms, consumer surplus is the difference between the ticket's face value and the absolute maximum you are willing to pay.
Okay.
So if a seat is listed at $150, but in your head you would have paid $600 for it, that extra $450 is the surplus.
And before dynamic pricing, that extra cash would have gone straight into a scalper's pocket, right?
Exactly. So Live Nation's argument is, hey, if someone's willing to pay $600, we should be the ones getting that money, not some random person reselling it.
I mean, isn't that just a fancy corporate excuse for price gouging? For the fan, the result is exactly the same. The price gets jacked up to the absolute maximum.
It is the same. The algorithm's only goal is to find that maximum price you're willing to pay and get as close to it as possible instantly.
Wow.
Live Nation's own leadership has argued that even with these huge price hikes, a lot of tickets are still, and I'm quoting here, massively underpriced compared to what the market would bear.
That strips all the joy out of it. It feels less like buying a ticket and more like some cruel algorithmic lottery.
And that brings us to the second mechanism, which is the scalping markup on the secondary market.
And we're not talking about a fan selling a spare ticket here.
No, not at all. We're talking industrial scale operations, touts using incredibly sophisticated bots. I mean, one ticket seller reported blocking over 6 billion bot attempts in a single year.
6 billion? That's not even a real number.
And they use thousands of fake accounts to just hoard massive volumes of tickets the second they go on sale.
And then they just relist them on resale sites, marking them up 50%, 100%, sometimes 6 times the original price.
The financial loss to fans is just staggering. But then there's the third mechanism, and this is the one that causes the most confusion, I think.
The opaque fee structure.
Exactly. You get to the checkout, and the price is suddenly way higher because of all these service fees. But here's the crucial insight.
Lay it on me.
The artists and their teams, they generally keep 100% of the face value ticket revenue. Just the ticket price.
Wait, hold on. I always assumed the artists were padding their pockets with those $50 convenience fees. So if the artist only gets the face value, who's getting that huge chunk of the service fee?
The venues.
The venue.
Primarily, yes. The service fees are typically set based on the venue's own rate card, and the majority of that money is kept by the venue itself. The ticketing company gets a smaller cut.
That completely flips the script. So it's less about some superstar's greed and more about the building itself and the corporate deals behind it.
It boils down to something called vertical integration.
Meaning, the company selling the ticket, promoting the show, and owning the venue are all kind of linked together.
Yes. The Oasis controversy exposed this perfectly. The band's 3 tour promoters all had direct links to Live Nation, which of course owns Ticketmaster.
So if a venue wants to get the big global tools, say Taylor Swift or Beyoncé, they have to sign these long-term exclusive deals with Live Nation.
And that gives Live Nation and the venue immense control over everything, especially the ticketing and the fee structure.
That interconnectedness, that control over the ticket, the promoter, and the building.
That is the structural issue that the U.S. government is now desperately trying to fight.
Which brings us across the Atlantic. Because while fans were crying foul everywhere, the biggest legal battle in the music industry was just heating up in the U.S.
It's a huge deal.
And if you're loving these industry twists, make sure you're subscribed to Starscope Report. We have got some even crazier legal showdowns just ahead.
Okay, so these pricing mechanisms we talked about, they're really just symptoms of a much deeper structural problem.
Right. And that brings us to the monopoly power on trial, the U.S. fight to break things up.
Exactly. The U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, has launched this massive antitrust lawsuit against Live Nation and Ticketmaster.
And this was after years of public anger, right? I feel like the Taylor Swift era's tour chaos was kind of the final straw.
It was. So the DOJ's goal is to force structural change, maybe even what's called divestiture.
For the average fan listening, what does divestiture actually mean?
It's a forced breakup. The government is trying to legally force Live Nation to sell off Ticketmaster.
To break the company apart.
To break it apart and force competition into the system.
So what's the core of the DOJ's argument here?
It's pretty straightforward. They allege that Live Nation controls something like 86% of the primary ticketing for major concerts.
86%. That sounds like a monopoly.
Well, their accusation is that Live Nation systematically threatens venues. They'll say, if you don't use Ticketmaster, you won't get our big tours.
Ah, so they use their concert promotion power to force their ticketing service on everyone.
That's the allegation. But Live Nation's defense is really interesting. They're not denying the integration. They're focused entirely on how you define the market.
What do you mean?
They say the DOJ gerrymandered that 86% number.
Gerrymandered? How?
They argue that if you include all the big venues, stadiums, amphitheaters, places that host major events, their market share instantly drops.
To what?
Down to 49%.
Wow.
And that 1% difference is the entire legal battle.
Why is that so important?
Because if a company controls less than 50% of a market, the government needs a lot more concrete proof of bad behavior to win an antitrust case.
Yeah.
Above 50%, just being that dominant, is a huge part of the argument itself.
So it's a fight over barely 1% of market share that decides the entire fate of the company. That's wild.
It is. And Live Nation also claims the government's case is built on shaky ground, relying heavily on what they call inadmissible hearsay evidence.
What does that mean in this context?
It's just secondhand testimony. Live Nation is arguing the DOJ is listening too much to rival ticketing companies complaining about them instead of having direct evidence from venues that were actually threatened.
So they're saying, where's the proof?
Pretty much. They pointed out that only 3 venue witnesses could actually support the claim of anti-competitive tour diversion in the last 5 years.
It does make you wonder, is this really about protecting fans from high prices? Or is it just a legal chess match over who gets to slice up a multi-billion-dollar pie?
Well, that's the big question, because even if the DOJ wins and forces a breakup, divestiture would not impose price controls.
Wait, really? So even if Ticketmaster becomes a separate company?
Prices could stay just as high, because the new competing companies would all still be using dynamic pricing to maximize their own profit. Competition doesn't necessarily mean affordability.
Okay, so while the U.S. is focused on this big structural fight, the U.K. has taken a completely different path.
A totally different philosophy. They're trying to solve the problem with regulation, not fragmentation.
It's like a global crackdown, but with its own set of risks.
Big risks. The new UK legislation is severe. It makes it illegal to resell a ticket for more than its original face value, plus any unavoidable fees.
So it basically kills the entire business model for professional scalpers.
It completely destroys it. The policy is projected to save fans something like £112 million every year, and it was championed by artists like Dua Lipa, Coldplay, Radiohead.
That sounds like a huge win for consumers, and we've already seen artists leveraging this, right? I heard about Olivia Dean calling out Ticketmaster.
Yes, she called them and Live Nation out over inflated resale prices for her tour, and Ticketmaster publicly agreed to cap all resales on its site at face value for her shows.
It shows that artists aren't totally powerless in this system.
They really aren't. But this aggressive move against the secondary market introduces a huge risk that experts are calling regulatory arbitrage.
Okay, let's slow down. Regulatory arbitrage. Why is that so dangerous for affordability?
Arbitrage is just exploiting loopholes in a system for profit. And the danger here is actually pretty simple.
Okay.
If you completely block anyone from making a profit in the secondary market, you create this powerful unintended incentive for the primary platforms and artists to just raise the initial face value.
Oh.
They'll just use dynamic pricing to capture all that extra money themselves.
So the profit doesn't go away, it just shifts. The scalper is eliminated, but the primary seller just takes the money the scalper used to take.
Precisely. The UK law gets rid of the middleman, but the fan still ends up paying the maximum market price. It just happens up front now.
Which kind of undermines the whole goal of making it affordable.
It really does. And what's more, these new laws risk pushing all of these transactions away from regulated sites like StubHub or Viagogo.
Which at least have some buyer protection.
Right. And it pushes them onto completely unprotected black markets, mostly on social media.
And that just means a massive increase in the risk of fraud and scams.
A huge increase. Lloyd's estimated that £1 million were lost to scammers just during the Taylor Swift Eras Tour alone. It shows how vulnerable desperate fans are.
So if you're out there looking for tickets, you have to be so careful.
Extremely vigilant. So we put together 3 quick red flags you absolutely need to watch for.
Okay, what's first?
First is payment risk. If a seller insists on cash, gift cards, or an unprotected app like Venmo or Cash App, just walk away.
You have to use something with buyer protection.
Always, like PayPal goods and services. Second is proof risk.
A screenshot of a ticket is not enough.
Not even close. That screenshot can be sold a dozen times. A legitimate transfer happens through an official app where the ticket's barcode is uniquely reassigned to you.
And then the third one is the oldest trick in the book.
It is. Pricing risk. If a deal seems too good to be true for a sold-out show, it is. A drastically reduced price is the #1 hallmark of a scam.
So at the end of all this, where does it leave us? The live music world is just. It's battling corporate dominance and algorithmic greed on all fronts.
It is. And you have 2 totally different approaches. The U.S. wants to restructure the entire system to force competition, hoping that helps consumers.
While the UK wants to impose price caps, trying to guarantee affordability by just eliminating the scalpers.
But both models face these massive hurdles. The key question, the one that nobody has an answer to yet, remains.
Which is?
Even if governments successfully get rid of ticket touts, what stops the primary sellers from just using dynamic pricing to raise the initial price until it's identical to what the scalpers used to charge?
That fight over dynamic pricing itself, that feels like the next frontier for both fans and regulators.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives that keep the stars shining.